Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the TXR podcast. There's nothing better than cracking open a cold one on a Sunday night, listening to TXR, and starting off your week right. This is your favorite broadcaster, Invader, here, and we've got a very interesting show lined up for you with our special guest. But first, the panel intros. First, a man who could use a few joy pills before the show, Mr. Downer. How's it going, bud?
What's going on, Gareth? How we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I didn't know I was getting introduced for that way. How's it going, Caught me off guard there.
I'm doing well, Invader. I just got my ass handed to me by my 5-year-old in Smash Brothers before this, but other than that, doing well.
Keep him away from the Legos. He might toss them at you. All right. Next up, he's back from the kennel. Tim Dog, my friend. What's new and exciting?
Happy to be here. Happy to see my friend Gareth here and you guys as well. My first TXR show after the hiatus. Happy to be here and ready to talk some Xbox games and whatever else.
Of course, of course. And next, my fellow metal alien, Megatron. What's up, bud?
What's up, people, ladies and gents? Excited to do this show. We got Gareth on, and I'm pumped. Let's do it.
All right. Me too. And next on deck, a community favorite who has a bit of a sweet side to him, Mr. DocCupCake. How you doing?
Doing great. So happy to be back on TXR. I've missed you all, gentlemen, everyone.
We miss you too, buddy.
I know, I've missed you guys. It's been an eventful time since this passed, but I'm glad to be here feeling better.
Good.
All right. Good stuff. And of course, panel member Southbound won't be in attendance tonight as he's doing some things on the south side, but don't worry, he'll be back. And without further delay, let me introduce to you our special guest. He's a multiple award-winning composer and also a huge gentleman. He's currently working on the game Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Mr. Gareth Coker, how are you doing, Gareth?
I'm doing pretty good considering it's 2 minutes past in the morning where I am at. But I'm really, really happy to be here.
Thanks. Wow, that's pretty late. You partying over there?
Not this evening, but it's certainly a part of the trip for sure.
That's great.
How can you party when you come to Europe?
Exactly. Very nice. And now, before we begin, to those in the chat, please feel free to leave any questions. I will be choosing some questions to ask during the show. So please don't forget to share this out and be kind and give a like. So yeah, save up your questions, fellas. It's going to be good. Save up some really good questions. And now, Gareth, to start off, what can you tell us about your background in the industry? Where did you start off?
I mean, I've been working professionally since 2009 now. And like my early years in the game industry were spent doing student projects and like mods for games. And then eventually one day in my inbox, I got messaged by Thomas Mahler, who I think has been on your podcast before, or on your show before. Yeah, he was like, do you want to, we really like your music, and do you want to do the music for this prototype that we have? At the time, it wasn't even called Ori, but it's what became Ori. I did 10 minutes of music for the prototype. They pitched it to various publishers, and the rest is kind of history. Microsoft picked the game up, and all of a sudden I was like scoring this game, which I thought was just going to be a cute indie platformer, and it ended up, well, you guys know how big Ori got. I think it just got bigger than any of us expected. And that kind of really changed everything for me, because within a couple of months of Ori coming out, and I got to work on Minecraft, I got to work on Ark Survival Evolved, and it's kind of like this avalanching snowball that keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I'm just trying to stay in control of it.
Of course, of course. And I just noticed that Southbound popped in. Southbound, how are you doing, pal?
Oh man, I'm doing lovely. How about the rest of you guys? I'm late, but I'm always on time. You know what I mean?
Glad you're here, buddy.
You
What
Oh,
do you
well,
do?
precisely
you know
when
what?
you mean
We have
to.
a VIP here, so I mean, how could I miss that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The gentleman, Gareth Coker in the house. Now, Gareth, you've lived in a wide variety of places from the looks of it: England, Holland, Japan, and also the USA. Do you feel that those places have had any influence on your music?
Yeah, and it's not just like living in these places. It's also just having access to like the places that are nearby. You know, if you live in the US, you can easily visit Canada. You can easily visit Mexico. If you live in Japan, you have access to the rest of Asia. And of course, like being from Europe, I mean, I'm near like 45 different countries. So when you have that kind of access to the rest of the world, just by being there, even if you're not trying to learn something, stuff's going to enter your brain whether you want it to or not. And that can sometimes mean like really weird stuff. It can mean good stuff. It can mean bad stuff, but all like kind of influences, for me, the way I write music. I think like one of the things about creating good art is having good taste. And you can only have good taste if you experience more things. And the way to experience more things is obviously to see as much of the world as possible. Damn, that was a good answer. Sorry, I'm like, I should do more interviews
Yeah, you hit it out of the park.
at 3 o'clock in the
That
morning.
was an awesome answer, my friend. That's an awesome answer, man. That's the mind of a genius right there. We're learning.
Exactly.
I like his music.
Exactly.
You
We're here to take. Well, Gareth, we're here to take it in. Just
Hey, we're learning. Preach, my brother. Preach.
got a lot of respect for you. I mean, one of the things that I've always noticed about you through the years is you're very humble. You're not one of these guys who gets. In a way, I think you never get too high on yourself. I mean, think of the stuff that you've done, and the ride, as you called it, and it's still ongoing. You're just an extremely talented person, and it's great. It's really nice to see how humble you are, but sometimes I think you could even be a little more cocky, because I really feel that your music is the way you do things is amazing, and future's bright. I know I've said that a lot, but it is.
Yeah, Gareth, I remember playing Ori for the first time, and listening to the soundtrack, I was like, wow, this guy is an absolute genius. And it really made the game 100% better. And it was just a
feels,
great
baby. The
experience.
feels.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah, just the overall atmosphere of the game is just astounding. No wonder people just kind of enveloped around and just became this sensation, what it turned into. Now, so Gareth, you've worked on a variety of game soundtracks recently, from, of course, Ori to Ark Survival Evolved, Minecraft, the Greek mythology expansion, I believe, and to also a VR game, The Unspoken, which I happen to love the soundtrack for. And how do you find like all the inspiration to fit all these different kinds of games? Because they're all like they're different genres, and like how do you find the inspiration to come up with the music for these titles?
I mean, it usually starts from the story and the setting. So let's just take Ark. I mean, Ark's a pretty straightforward one. Like when I saw the first trailer, I was just like, "What on earth is going on here? This is incredible!" Like there's so much going on, and each new shot.
Butt in real quick. There's a
Yep,
funny
go
story
for it.
about Ark, real quick. Tim and I were playing it when it was barely launched on the Xbox,
Right.
preview, and we were crawling under some sand or something, and you could take a dump in the game, and Tim ate it after, and all of a sudden he just goes ew, and it was so funny.
Yes.
Wow.
He didn't know what it was. He was just like, "Oh, an apple," you know.
Yeah,
What I mean?
the beard. I think we were playing with
But
the
I'm
beard.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that just is one of those classic moments that you never forget,
I mean, there's tons of Ark poop stories, so that's just another one. Um, so, but yeah, that the game was so like fantastic, and all they said to me at the beginning is like, we need a killer theme, and when you've got like that much material to work with, it's like really easy to get inspired, and they didn't really put any limitations on me. They just said they didn't want it to sound like Jurassic Park, so I made sure that it didn't sound like Jurassic Park, because it's already been done. And if I tried to sound like John Williams, I would still sound like second-rate John Williams, even if I researched it to like and tried to do my best to emulate it. So yeah, they just let me do my own thing. With the Minecraft Greek mythology, and I've actually done 3 more mythology since then. We're in the Greek, China, Norse mythology, which is my personal favorite, and we did Egyptian mythology last year. These are all kind of fun because I can get to explore a period of history and kind of put my own spin on things. It's also a departure from the regular music of Minecraft, which is quite relaxing. And for these, they're like, no, we just want you to go big and like try and evoke these fantastical worlds. If you've gotten any of these expansions and you've loaded up the basic map, they've done an amazing job like creating a map like that takes you into that period of time. So with those, it's just like getting to visit a part of history. And with the Unspoken, it's a 21st century Magic game. So there's like no orchestra, and it's all electronic. So because that's a big departure from my normal work, I had a little bit more research and like experimentation than I was perhaps used to. But doing that, you also learn a bunch of new stuff as well. So I can always like find for any project that I'm working on a form of inspiration, either through like the actual content or also because I'm going to learn something new every time. Like the journey of learning is never, ever, ever done as a composer. There's always something new. And this, this may surprise you, but like, I don't really enjoy listening to Ori anymore because all I hear is mistakes. But like, even though the game was successful and the soundtrack was successful, I'm kind of glad I get a second crack at it with Will of the Wisps because like
speak for yourself
everything
on
I've
that
learned.
One.
I'm
always.
I like that answer. I like that answer.
But it's not that like I think that was the best version of me in 2015. But I personally think like I've learned a lot in the 3.5 years since it came out, and I'm just interested to see like what happens with that extra 3.5 years of experience and what's going to happen in the sequel.
Wow.
So yeah, it's getting into it is like I don't find it difficult yet, and I hope that continues.
We got Mike Ibarra in the chat also enjoying the music and Ori. He's commenting here, saying how great it was.
Oh, cool.
Nice to have Mike here. I know you obviously can't talk about the game as much because it's coming out in the future, but would you say that this was a powerful journey for you, the way it's coming along? Are you confident that you're going to knock it out of the ballpark with Will of the Wisps, and that you could actually look back on it and be happy? Because you just said that you find mistakes with Ori and the Blind Forest. Do you think that you could, that's just being that's you, but you think you could rectify that and feel like you did it with this next?
Well, I mean, when I say mistakes, it's like it's mistakes that like probably only the composer would hear. Like anyone like who doesn't know the music inside out isn't going to hear the mistakes. So it's just like, but there's some other cool stuff. Like I can. I have a few more, because the game did well the first time round. I have a few more resources I can throw at it, and like so I can hire some people who I've always wanted to hire to like perform on the soundtrack, for example. Like there's just like little things that I can do that just weren't possible the first time round. And sometimes having too many options can be a bad thing, but because I've not had that opportunity before, it's a chance to like really experiment a bit more than I was able to on the first one. Not that I wasn't able to experiment, but it's like the shackles are off, basically.
Interesting.
That's what I'm like really excited to see, and you know, it's our release date is sometime in 2019. That's and I look forward to like seeing what the world's going to think when it's out.
Yeah, and we're very excited to learn more about Ori for sure. We're chomping at the teeth. But to switch gears a little bit, obviously you've been involved with gaming for a while. And what would you say would be your favorite gaming memory?
I picked 3 because the questions were sent to me in advance, and I was like, okay, I need to like make sure I give a good answer for this, because like this is, if I could spend like an hour thinking about this. No, this was super helpful because it allowed me to think about it. So the 3, there's 2 from like the very like near the beginning of my gaming career, and 1 is very recent. So the first like memory that I really have like that has stuck with me forever. There may be a few people who haven't played this game. It's unlikely, but I'm not going to spoil it. But a key scene in Final Fantasy VII, and I think anyone who's played Final Fantasy VII knows what that scene is, but it involves one of the main characters and the villain, and that's all I'll say. But that was like the first like moment in games that like I really noticed everything. Like it comes like basically at the end of probably Act 1 of the game, maybe Act 2, but like it just like the image is burned in my brain. The second is from the second like favorite gaming memory is from the first Deus Ex game, and it's mainly for the reasons that I think it was the first game that I played where like you can truly play how you want. It's like an RPG that really is like an RPG. Like if you want to stealth everything, you can. If you want to blow everything up and go in all guns blazing, you can. But also it's the first game I played which had multiple endings. And of course, like this is in like 1997, and I think, and like the fact that all of that fit onto one compact disc. And if you think how big games are now, like, you know, we've got 100 gigabyte downloads, and then the entire of Deus Ex was on a 650 megabyte CD. Like, it's crazy. Like how much you could, like how efficient that was. Also, it had a killer soundtrack. Like I can still remember the main theme for that game. And then sorry, go on.
I remember when Invisible War came out on the Xbox and the PC and thing. The game was way ahead of its time at the time.
Yeah. And then there was Human Revolution, which was amazing, and then there was Mankind Divided, which I didn't like as much as Human Revolution because I feel like it didn't really have an ending. But I love the Deus Ex series. I hope it's not dead. I hope they keep going with it, but obviously that depends on sales. The third game, this game, when I played it last year, it absolutely blew my mind. I think it represents the future of what cinematic games can be, and it's Ninja Theory's Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh, wow.
Just like, I think it's absolutely unbelievable. The presentation, I think it's unmatched. The storytelling, like, there's combat in the game, but like when you're walking through the environment, even just walking through the environment is so simple. Like you know, there's this genre of games called walking simulators, and they get a lot of flack, but like so much of Hellblade is just walking through the environment. But like there's so much going on. It's utterly captivating from every moment. And then you've got the puzzle element of the game, and then you've got the combat element of the game, and it is all building to this ending sequence, which like, I remember when I finished the game, because you can finish the game in a weekend, I think. I remember when I finished the game, I watched the credits, and I was just like, it's rarely happened that like my jaw has just dropped. Like how good the presentation was and the escalation of tension throughout the final sequence of the game. The only thing I haven't done yet is play it in VR, and that is like next on my list when I have some time, which isn't going to happen for a while. But I've played Hellblade. I've watched other people play Hellblade. It's one of my favorite games ever.
Very nice. Sounds like you'd probably be willing to do something like that in the future. Maybe you think you would
yeah. It's that game just blew my mind. I hope.
Can you scare us?
Huge games.
Could you scare us if you were composing the game like something like that? Could you scare, like, you think that would be a good part of what you do to like make a real scare type music composition?
I can talk a bit more about that later. But yes is the yes is the short answer. I could definitely it's doing stuff like that is like the ability to scare is just to it's all about pacing, like understanding where to like it's just the timing of things. I actually didn't find Hellblade that scary. It affected me more on a psychological level, which I think was their goal. But I can definitely understand. There's definitely a couple of scenes which just like, oh my goodness.
I was scared.
Did you finish it?
Very close to finishing it. I'm gonna finish it. I'm up to pretty much I think the last part, but
finish it. Come on, Tim. Finish it.
My experience with it is that the sound, the surround sound of that game, and even I just played Resident Evil 2. That's the whole thing, but that also just the overall thing with that scared me. Like, and I remember playing it and I'd be like, remember one specific time playing it and I kept looking out my window and I kept thinking I saw somebody. I totally freaked myself out where I was like, I can't play this game anymore. I had to put the game down. Obviously people get that, but it just like your mind started playing tricks on you. And that was their visual design is something else. Ninja Theory, and can't wait to see what they're doing next too.
Neither can I. Like they're definitely one to watch for sure. I've everyone who I've spoken to, I was just like, have you played Hellblade? Because it's not like it's done well, but like it's one of those games where like I think it's done better from word of mouth. Like people have played it and they're like, oh my god, you play this game. I don't know many people that haven't. I don't know many people that have played it that didn't like get something like visceral and emotional from it.
Right. No, Hellblade is very good. Like, I just beat it recently, and I'm just a loss for words. Like, just the amount of detail, like, whether it be the character, the soundtracks, is just monumental.
Yep.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, moving on, we had talked a bit about your inspirations to fit different games you've worked on, but specifically for the Ori soundtracks, what kinds of inspirations did you draw upon to create both Ori and the Blind Forest and the current Will of the Wisps?
Where it starts for the Ori games, it's all about the look. So if you think back to Blind Forest, each main area of the game has a very distinctive look, or a distinctive like design hook. Like for example, the Forlorn Ruins in the game is very icy and cold. So I'm trying music that reflects that. The Misty Woods, on the other hand, it's just another part of the forest, but the Misty Woods doesn't have a map, so it's supposed to feel like you're getting lost. So I want the music to feel like it's getting lost and never. So it's the music for the Misty Woods.
Interesting.
It never feels like it has an ending. and there's local devices that you can use that, which it feels like the music never comes to an end. It just keeps going and going and going. And it's really just about matching the music to the environment, because ultimately Ori is journeying through the world, and Ori doesn't know like any of these parts of the world. So I'm trying to like write the music from Ori's point of view. Like, what would this world feel like to Ori? Because also the player is playing as Ori, so that obviously is going to translate to the player as well. In terms of like, to give like a musical answer, if you think to the Ginzo tree level, and this is some pretty basic stuff, but like Ginzo tree is inside a tree. So what's a tree made of? Wood. So let's use instruments made out of wood. Like, it's so basic, but sometimes like the most basic solutions get overlooked. There's another area of the game, the Valley of the Wind. What kind of instrument do you think I might use for Valley of the Wind? A wind instrument, and it's featured all over that section of the game. So generally what I try and do is think about the obvious solutions first, and only if the obvious solutions don't work, then I'll try something else.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's great. I love you. Just awesome.
Yeah. Now, besides the musical score, how else are you involved with Ori and the Will of the Wisps? Are you involved in any other capacities?
I mean, obviously my official capacity is as composer, but one of the cool things about Moon Studios is everyone can give feedback on everything, which normally it doesn't happen that often, but like one of the areas I like have quite a lot of input in is the actual cutscenes and how they're paced. One thing I've always thought is that composers would make good editors. Actually, there's a composer who just got an Oscar nomination for editing the Bohemian Rhapsody film. And the reason for this is because to write music that makes you feel something, it has to be paced well. And to make a good edit is the same thing as doing pacing. So with the cutscenes for the game, and I did this on Ori 1 as well, I have a lot of say in how long some shots last. And if I feel something is too long, and because I want the music to end at a certain time, I will just go to the animation or the art team and say, hey, can you make this shot shorter? There's a lot of back and forth, and it's really cool. Just for context, what usually happens in film and games is the composer just gets a video and it's like, all right, write music for that. And there's almost no adjustment on time. But with this, one of the cool things about Moon Studios is we just get to have this back and forth and cross-department collaboration, which I think results in a more cohesive game. It's not easy to do, and there's a lot of disagreements, but I don't think you can make something great without having disagreements. So usually in the end, like the end result is usually very clear, like once you put it together. I've actually got a really great example of something so simple, but it made such a big difference in how it was perceived. You all remember the first trailer for Will of the Wisps, the one where I played piano on stage.
Yes.
The crowd went wild.
So memorable.
I had to dry Jeremy's tears.
All right, so the final shot, right? You remember when Ori comes on screen?
Yeah.
There's that final shot. Now, you can rewatch it after this as well. But like, there was a big discussion in the team about when to bring the theme in, like dun 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 dun, and about half the team thought it should come in when Ori enters on screen, and I'm like, no, it should enter when Ori puts his arm around the owl, because that's what the game is all about. And so I just made both, and I was just like, here's version 1 and here's version 2. And after the team saw both versions, it was unanimous that like that we should put the main theme on when Ori puts his arm around the owl. It's just like simple stuff like that. It's only like 3 seconds different in the music, but like it makes such a big difference to how things are perceived. And it's just like that level of detail is what we're trying to do throughout the whole.
Yeah,
Well,
I know.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Doc.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's very obvious. I'm a huge fan of the way you have composed, because the way that you're able to create a voice for these inanimate objects that are within the game, say, or something that's out that's on the screen. You've been able to convey voices that I don't think many can actually do within games. So kudos to you on that. But I will say this. I'm excited to see how you take this up a notch on the next level, because as you were saying, this one's even bigger and better, because that video, that when he wrapped his arm around it, I'm telling you, that voice that came just from that one scene alone, with the subtle music, and it all just kind of climactically came together. That is kind of like top tier, that people don't realize that this is stuff that is very hard to find, and I'm wondering how you visualize this. How are you finding that voice for these characters and that stuff? Is there a certain thing that you trying to channel or anything to kind of find these voices?
I think whenever doing something like this, which when you're trying to create emotion, I think for me, it's all about just channeling my own life experiences or having heard other people's life experiences. So it's hard to put into words like how that translates into music. But ultimately, I'm just looking at what we're trying to do and how we're trying to tell the story. And with that moment in the trailer, it just seemed very obvious to me that, especially for the people who had played Ori 1, and the whole thing about Ori 1 is is the connection between mother and child. This is similar. It's Ori and a friend, and that seemed to me to be the strongest callback. But if I could give you a good answer, I would write a book about it, and then I would sell it on Amazon. And
I would buy it.
You have to do that. You have to do it.
Doc,
I would buy that book.
Yeah, Doc, that was a great question, Doc.
Yeah,
it was a great question. It's like such a tough thing to answer, because it's so specific, not just to every project, but also to like even every scene in the project. That would be a question to ask me when the game is finished.
Okay.
Because then I'll like have all of the experiences, and I'll actually be able to talk about it. So
you're coming back. That means
yes. Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay.
So speaking about Ori 2, I think everybody's excited here to obviously, get into it whenever the release date is. Talk about how the development process with the Will of the Wisp, as opposed to the Blind Forest, what kind of challenges brings to the table as far as that goes?
Well, I think the first thing that springs to mind is everyone knows who we are now. Like, we're not this unknown studio coming out of nowhere.
Now you have to live up to what you did previously.
Yeah, there's expectation there for sure, and that's for every department, like animation, storytelling, art, music, design. Everyone knows who we are, and there's a decent amount of hype for the game. So it's I think just dealing with that is a challenge into itself. But to flip that on its head, the talent on the team is just absolutely insane. One of the benefits of having finished Ori 1 and it doing so well, and now that we're making the sequel, is we can attract some pretty impressive talent. and
nice.
that I believe will show in the final game when it comes out. Like it's just unbelievable, the people who I get to work with every day, and so while there are challenges dealing with the expectation, we also we have a mix of people around the first game and people who are joining for the second game. So we have some fresh perspectives as well. And when you combine that all together, it results in creating something that's new and special.
Gareth,
but yeah, I think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think other than that, it's just like we also want to look at the things that came up in the first game that perhaps people didn't enjoy so much, and see if we can improve or tweak them, as well as strengthening our strengths and tightening up the weaknesses.
Gareth, can I ask you a question real quick? What about people that don't really like platformers, or just they're not good at it at all? Like myself, I'm horrible at them. So I get in a certain situation where I can't figure out the puzzle and I just give up. What would you say for people like me?
YouTube.
What hackers, guys?
Yeah, that's a good answer.
But see, I just get frustrated because I want to do it myself. Obviously, I feel like a cheater if I go for a guide or something like that. Not that I have any issue with anybody getting guides, but I would want to figure it myself. And then when I can't, then I feel like a complete idiot.
Well, I think one of the things that we didn't, I don't think we had in the first game. We didn't even have an easy mode in the first game. Like it was just like one difficulty, if I recall correctly, or maybe they were just normal, hard, and then crazy hard. But then in the definitive edition, we released an easier mode, and I think there's other things that we can do to make your platforming life a little bit easier. Whether it's I think one of the issues from the first game was that people had trouble with the save system. Not everyone had trouble with it, but creating a save point used up your energy, and you could have ended up in situations where you didn't have enough energy to make a save point, and then you end up being trapped. So that's something that we've definitely looked at. But I think the one thing, I don't want to make you feel bad, but my dad who's never played a platformer and was 65
I'm
at
gonna go
the
bury
time
myself.
Ori came out.
Boy.
My dad finished Ori.
Ouch.
My dad finished Ori, and it's the first platformer he ever played. So it can be just persevere with it.
We'll call it the Southbound mode. We'll just walk from the left of the screen.
Yeah.
You walk from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, and you'll see credits, and it'll be there. You go. There you go.
Well, guess how many deaths I had in that game, and I finished the game, and I also went through situations where I was going to give up, and one of those situations, as I'm listening to Gareth, he's talking about, the woods, the misty woods, and I actually.
Well, I
for
got
that
to the Ginzo tree, you know what I mean? So
Tim,
Yeah, but-
Tim, if I remember correctly, you had over 1,000 deaths. If I remember correctly.
15,
There we go.
1536.
Hey,
was
but
the-
remember, you're talking to a guy who tried the Witcher 3 on the hardest difficulty just to start off. So, whatever. I'm a dumbass.
Ouch.
No, I mean, but for me, it was definitely it was a tough game. But I remember that part where I was actually lost to the Misty Woods. So the music did make me lost to the point where I remember playing that game for 2-3 days, and I'm like, I can't get past this part. And I finally figured it out. I think it was with the spider.
Admit it. You went to Macca's, guys. Just admit it.
No, I did not go to Macca's Guides. I weathered through, but there was a point where 2-3 days of trying to play the game, I could not get past this point, and I weathered through it. And then obviously anybody that hits the Ginzo tree is going to finish the game. Once you get to that point, and that just the whole game is great. But That's my feeling on it.
Here's a thing about difficulty. I think this has changed a little bit in the last year, but I generally think the games have become too easy.
I agree.
Obviously, there's exceptions, but like, I mean, some of these games, I mean, you're literally walking through an interactive movie, and that's fine. But like, I think games handhold a little bit too much, and if we have to challenge you a little bit, obviously there's a balance between being challenging and being annoying, and obviously we want to remove
So you're not
the
trying to be
annoying
like
part.
Vulgar the Viking,
Dark Souls,
right? But the thing is, you don't get any satisfaction from completing easy stuff. Like, one of the problems I have, and the games are so polished, but like, I don't get as much as I feel like I should from playing a game like Uncharted, just because I don't feel like I'm in control of the entire experience. Even though
you feel like
the
it's more on
experience
rails?
even though the experience itself is incredible, I feel sometimes like I'm a bystander, and maybe that's the point. But with the games that, even Dark Souls and Bloodborne, like, it's on you. So when you finish, and that's why that's why these games, the Souls games, have such a cult following, because the satisfaction you get now, it's slightly masochistic in the Souls games, but I hope you get where I'm coming from. Like, there's definitely a balance.
There's a sweet spot.
So,
play a game to be challenged. You don't want to.
Yep.
I agree. I felt that with Red Dead 2 a little bit, and that game was like, for me, I finished the game, it was like 80 hours, but I felt like, never got to the point where I didn't feel challenged. I felt like it was kind of an easy game, and if I could, I love the game, I love the storyline, but if I could give it, there is a little bit of a critique. It is that it did feel like that. Like, I just went through shoot the games, and it never really got to a point where I felt like I was being really challenged towards the end. I was just blowing through the game. But that was one of the great experiences. For me, I always get it. Yeah, you're not a gamer, this and that. But if anybody finishes Ori, and
I really.
Yeah, it's a game that you got to finish. I have
tough,
to
but
say,
it's so rewarding. It's worth it. It's
a game that you have to finish. It's one of those games.
Maybe since the Ultimate Edition's in the Game Pass, maybe I'll go back and try it.
Yeah, just go for it, man. Because for me, it was. I had 1,536 deaths, and
where do you check your deaths? That's I honestly be ashamed to look.
From the app. But it was a rewarding feeling, and just to draw a comparison, I did feel like what you're saying is true with Red Dead Redemption. That's the biggest game, pretty much, arguably, of 2018. It did feel like that, like kind of just like an interactive movie. You get into a shooting thing, and you blow the competition away, and the story goes on.
So, Gareth, I did want to ask you a couple of Ori and the Will of the Wisp, a couple questions.
Yep.
Can you talk about some of the different characters you'll meet throughout Ori's adventure without giving too much away?
It's the obvious place to start is with the owl. It should be pretty clear by now that, like, there's going to be an emphasis on that character, because we showed the owl at the end of the first trailer, and in the second trailer, there's one shot where Ori is actually riding the owl. So that's something that's something new. Obviously, our old friends Naru and Gumo, we also showed in the trailers, they'll be returning. And again, something that we hinted at in the trailer from E3 in 2018. there's a couple more characters who you might meet. I can't go into specifics, but I think one of the things that like we wanted to look at, like improving from the first game to the second, is making the world feel more alive and lived in. And I think we've definitely addressed that.
Awesome.
Nice.
So as far as like gameplay mechanics,
now this is something I can talk a little bit because it's like our big thing. So
what hasn't been introduced? Anything that hasn't been introduced that you can talk about?
That has been introduced?
Has and hasn't.
So, has and hasn't. I mean, I feel like there's so much stuff that's coming. Like, that's a hard question to answer, like what hasn't been introduced. But the main thing, the main focus for us from the first game to the second was improving the combat experience. Because mostly, if we're being honest, the combat experience in the first game is press X. And it's cool and it looks amazing. But there's a couple of additional abilities, like you can use Bash from the first game to throw projectiles back at your enemies. But I think a lot of people were probably just pressing X a lot to get through the game, and we wanted to make that more satisfying. I don't know how many of you played the live demo that we had at E3, but if you did,
I had a chance to. Oh, you didn't play it yet?
I watched it. I didn't play it.
Oh, that's right.
Couldn't get through.
You had a chance to play it.
But we hinted at multiple weapons in the game, and Ori with weapons is just pretty badass. Let's just be honest. Like Ori with a spear, Ori with a bow, Ori with a sword, like, and we've shown all of that. Like, we've shown some clips, and some of it's been in the demo. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So Gareth, with all those weapons, will we see boss battles finally in the game? Traditional boss battles.
You can't say.
Just give away the story.
Come on, Gareth.
You can't say
Tell
that.
us the ending. Tell us the ending before you give us the release date.
Will there be traditional boss battles in Ori Will of the Wisps?
All I'll say is you saw a spider in the E3 2018 trailer.
Oh, nice.
Way to corner him, Jeremy.
It was a nice try, but like I'll get into so much trouble.
Let's see. I saw a spider, a frog.
Boss battles confirmed.
A windmill.
We'll see. We'll wait and see.
Yes.
We're gonna
that's a good one. Yeah,
on our YouTube channel tomorrow.
You fight the windmill. Sorry. What did you say?
So it's Don Quixote then. All right.
He muted Jeremy.
Great.
Yeah, that's kind of a loaded question. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
you weathered it. You weathered it well.
I think like the best if you see something in the trailer, the only limit is your imagination.
Right. That's awesome.
That's like, I think that's a fairly open-ended answer, and I won't get into trouble for it. I'm
gonna change the subject and ask you a question that I have. It's kind of previous to what you said when you talked about the VR game. What is your feeling on VR? And you said that you used a lot of electronical stuff. Would you say that experience is something that grew you as a composer?
Yes. So no matter what genre of music I'm doing, it's like one would think, like, how does working with synthesizers benefit doing a project like Ori? And on the surface, it doesn't look like it would benefit at all. But actually, if you listen carefully to Ori and the Blind Forest and for what's coming from Will of the Wisps, there's plenty of synthetic elements in there. It's just they're not like at the forefront of the sonic experience. But it's actually that blend of orchestra and like gentle, soft pulsing sounds. If you listen to any track in Ori, there's always like a gentle pulsing back and forth in the music. That's all electronic. So going going from like doing a full electronic project and then like taking everything from that, like I learned a lot more about how to produce sounds, and that goes directly into Ori. What was your question about VR?
VR, how do you feel on it? Do you feel
Is it there yet?
if it's a mainstay, is it something that will take over gaming? I mean, or what is just your overall optimistic, your overall, just not your optimistic, but your overall outlook of VR?
I don't
do you think it could fail, or do you just be honest on it?
Okay, so my take on VR, and it's just my opinion, it won't really take off until we get rid of the cables. We've got to get rid of the cables because it's like you look like a cyborg, like weird robot, like when you're plugged into one of these things. It's not okay. The biggest problem VR has is it's not cool. Like no one wants to put on a friggin' headset and like look like that and like wandering around their living room aimlessly. I think a really cool comparison, when Nintendo made the 3DS, they were able to do 3D without having to wear the glasses. Like that's the kind of technological jump that VR needs to do for it to really take off. And we're probably still, I don't know, 5 to 10. I don't know like how quickly the tech is developing, but we're probably still like 5 to 10 years away. The other problem is the resolution of the headsets. It's just not there yet. The computing power is not there yet. We need really, really high frame rates. And it needs to be double because you're dealing with two screens. But I don't think it will ever take over gaming, but it could be an amazing supplement. There are some really amazing VR experiences out there. I have a feeling Hellblade is one of them, but I can't confirm yet. Yeah, I think they are out there. But it's definitely not going to die. But it's just not there yet. Watch this space. It's still an area of growth and experimentation. In my opinion,
I think one of the games that shows off VR in a very good light is Resident Evil 7. I just feel like the game
in VR.
And supposedly it's the scariest thing ever.
Terrifying. I'm totally gonna play it now. Thanks.
Because
I have played it, but I haven't played the VR version.
I've heard from people who play it, they can't get through it. It's too scary. I
mean, it's an amazing experience. It really is amazing experience.
The scarier, the better for me. I friggin' love horror. So
good to know.
I mean, that's why we put a spider. That's why we put a spider in Ori 2, so I can like get a chance to exercise my scary writing.
How did Thomas come in contact with you? What was the thing that tipped him off to say, "Hey, let's talk to this guy for Ori"?
I think there was like one specific, really obscure piece of music that I did from like a student film, but I think he liked it. I wish I could remember what it was. I think I can, but like it's only like a 40-second piece, but it had a simple melody and it had a very ambient background. And I think that simplicity, as well as having a melody, is what caused him to reach out. It's quite hard to find composers that like are comfortable writing melody. I love it. And I think that's what caused him to reach out to me. But that's a core part of my music and what I do. Like I like putting things in that people can hum and take away with them. Like when you go to see a movie, it doesn't happen in every movie, but like I think a sign of a successful soundtrack is you can recognize it after 2 seconds. Like, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a tune like the Star Wars theme or the Halo. Like everyone recognizes it, but it doesn't have to just be that. It can also be like a sound or like a texture. Everyone knows what Inception sounds like because it has those massive friggin' horns. Like everyone knows what that sounds like, and that's not a melody, but it's still a sound or an idea. And I think that's the sign of a successful soundtrack. And I think you'd have to ask Thomas, but like I think like that's
it's a tough
like
question,
the ability to like it's basically a form of branding, and like when you can brand something with a sound or a musical idea, it can be extremely powerful. Look at the end of every trailer that we do for Ori. We just stick the first line of the Ori theme in there because it would feel wrong not to. Like, let's take the second game. People are probably going to be annoyed if like we don't put the main theme on the main menu. So it's like I've probably got to do that, right? I'll probably do a variation of it, but like it's still got to be recognizable. Like imagine Star Wars if they didn't put like the fanfare on, like you know, people would riot. So it's like they're just like, but that's a good thing. So like I think like that ability to like find like a sonic identifier, that's I think that's what Thomas heard. I know. Like,
interesting.
It's yeah.
Now, when you had that, was that like a big break for you, or was that like one of the big moments? And what did you think of video games and composing before that? Was this like the first time that you entered the arena, or was it like, if you take us there at that point when you get the phone call, did you already know about video games? Were you doing that, or was this new to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd done a couple of smaller indie projects. One of them is called Primal Carnage, which was like this crazy humans versus dinosaurs fighting game, like a multiplayer thing. It actually did reasonably well, but it was an indie project. This was definitely, it obviously opened up a lot of doors, but being a game since the age of like 4, I think, and this comes back to that very first thing about taste, I've played a lot of games. I played a lot of bad games, and I played a lot of good games. So I just know I feel like I know what a good game feels like, and I also know what a bad game feels like. And when I played the prototype of Ori, I was like, holy crap, this feels like a great game. And it's so early. It just felt good to play in my hands. So I was like, I need to do everything I can to get this damn game because it could open up a lot of doors for me, and it did. So yeah.
All right. Now, what would you say would be like a dream soundtrack to work on? It doesn't have to be video games per se, but like what would be something that you would really enjoy working on?
That is an easy one, and I have been asked this before. So this is kind of linked to my experience working Minecraft, like doing music in different settings. There is not a lot I wouldn't do to work on an Assassin's Creed title.
Oh wow!
Because you just get to explore a certain period of history. Plus, I am one of those crazy people that has played every single Assassin's Creed. I literally just finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey over Christmas, so I am up to date. I am familiar with all of the lore. I've put God knows how many hours into that series, far too many. I don't care. It's a game I make time for, and I just love the series and everything they're doing with it. And so yeah, that's my answer. Particularly if they ever did an Assassin's Creed set in Japan, because obviously I lived there for 3 years, so it would make a lot of sense. But these things are out of my hands. It may never happen. But that's the question, and that's my answer.
What's your favorite Assassin's Creed?
Assassin's Creed 2. It's Assassin's Creed 2, closely followed by Black Flag.
Black Flag was amazing. Yeah, I give those two very 2 thumbs up.
All right. Now, at this point, I'd like to take a few moments to go to the chat questions. And there's a question from Dinero Primero. And this fan of the show...
wow, you just murdered his name.
What?
It's dinero primero. Come on.
Tried.
Hey,
Fine.
it's all right. Yeah.
What? I thought I
you're
said
Canadian.
it properly.
You're
Oh, I'm
Canadian. It's all right.
All right. Well, he asks, what did he ask actually? He asked, what is one of your favorite scores in video games, Gareth?
Oh, what a loaded question.
It is, but
let me think about that. Give me like 20 seconds. Talk amongst yourself for 20 seconds, and I will give you a good answer.
The Ninja Theory?
I have to think about this.
Go with.
Okay.
I tell you, speaking of Assassin's Creed, though, like I actually thought Brotherhood was pretty good too.
Well, the whole Ezio collection was good.
Yeah, Ezio. I miss Ezio actually.
I need to go back and play Black Flag. I heard that was pretty good, and I got DLC. And stuff
Black
for that
Flag
game.
was amazing. It really was,
Black
especially
Flag-
because it's the guys, the voice that does what's his face in the comic book show. What is it? Legend of Tomorrow. He does Constantine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan. I believe
I have my answer. Sorry. Sorry to interrupt you.
But we're
guys,
talking about Assassin's Creed.
We gave you
true.
20 seconds.
So enough, like actually, I think the early Assassin's Creed games have amazing soundtracks. But particularly number 2. But there's a couple that really stick out in my memory. One of them, and because it's one of the first games I ever played, is Final Fantasy VII, just because it's packed with melodies. But the one that I keep going back to because it's a really enjoyable listening experience is Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, okay.
I think it has an amazing soundtrack.
One of the best.
And yeah, it's such a unique game as well. The soundtrack is just one of the all-time great for me. One more. Sorry, I know this is kind of cheating because he said one, but whatever.
I guess.
The other is BioShock. The entire series. There is not a composer who can write like that composer does. He has his own incredibly unique style. No one can do what he does, and it just perfectly fits all 3 BioShock games.
Very good choices.
I agree with you. The BioShock series is just something that it's just a sight to behold. And
Well, just the
to.
whole sound scheme of that series is crazy. To the machines and the voices, it's just all around quality audio.
And sadly, we don't. One of my pet peeves is it doesn't look like we're going to get a sequel of BioShock 4, which is horrendous to me.
It's a shame, man. It's a good game.
That game,
I thought
was so good.
not too long ago that they were.
There's rumors. There's
Yeah,
rumors about BioShock.
I hope it's true, because to me that just enrages me that game would fail to continue, because the world that they bring me to in that game is like pretty much one of my favorite worlds, like, to play in. I always remember playing that game, the first one, and with the girl with the baby carriage, and she was the whatever that thing was. I was like, this
the splicers are scary.
Exactly. And the Splices Father, I was like, this is what I want in video games. This is this is cool. So I always remember that. And then I played the last one, which the ending.
Infinite.
Oh my god, the ending in that game is one of my favorite endings, if not my favorite.
Yeah, nice twist. But isn't it amazing how they took it from the ocean to the air?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll admit I miss Rapture more than I do Columbia. There's a certain
it was creepy
character to Rapture that I just really enjoyed, and I don't know. I guess the setting overall had a nice atmosphere to it for me.
Yeah,
very creepy.
Like,
whereas Columbia,
please make a sequel. Would you kindly please make a sequel?
Yes, please.
Would you kindly? Well, I might kindly get to the next question. Let's see. Now, Gareth, what would you recommend for people interested in gaming music? Like, how would you go about pursuing a job in the industry, per se? I know it's a bit of a loaded question, but what, like,
well, the thing is, I've asked this question, and it kind of changes because the world is changing like so fast, and like how I got started would I approach like basically 10 years ago now. It would be like my approach 10 years ago probably wouldn't work now. But I think one of the key things is I don't think you have to be a gamer to be a game composer, but you have to have an understanding how games work, they're made. That's where to start. It definitely helps if you're a gamer, obviously, but it's not like it doesn't have to be a barrier. Secondly, you've really got to know your stuff because there's so many people trying to get jobs in gaming. I mean, even at Moon Studios, I mean, composers like send the studio like resumes every week. Even though I'm the one working on it. It's kind of funny, but sure. But you've really got to know your stuff. I think then after that, don't try and sound like someone else that already exists, because why would I hire someone trying to sound like Hans Zimmer? It's just going to sound like second-rate Hans Zimmer. Don't even try and sound like me or Marty O'Donnell or Gary Scheinman who did BioShock. Like, just you have to find like your own unique voice, because that is what gets. It's first of all, it's what gets you noticed and hired for the first time. But it's also like retaining that unique voice is what gets you hired again and again and again. Now, when you're starting out and you want to meet people, it's not enough to do it from friggin' Twitter, Facebook, Insta, whatever. Like, it's just not enough. You've got to go out and meet real people. And then the other key is not to treat people like objects to give you work. You've got to treat them like people. Ultimately, the easiest way to get work is to get work from your friends. But then your work's got to be good. So you've got to be ready. I think a lot of people, when they go to conventions, especially those who are starting, and I was guilty of this too, everything is networking. Networking is like one of the most horrendous words ever created, because it just implies that I am trying to get something from you no matter what. And really, it should be about what can you do for the person who might hire you. And you don't even want to address that like at the beginning. What you really want to do is focus on like just being a normal person, like be a normal person first and then compose a second. This stuff all like might sound like it has nothing to do with music, but like actually getting a job is like 90% psychological and 10% to do with your ability, because it is assumed that you will be good at doing the music. So what is gonna, like, are you gonna be, are you boring, or are you fun to hang out with? Like, are you going to be easy to work with, or are you going to be difficult to work? And most people make that decision on you within the first 30 seconds of meeting you. So don't screw it up. Like, you just got to be like a normal person. It's just, that's just how humans are. Like it's just how we're programmed. Like, most people will make their mind up about you in 30 seconds. You got to make a good first impression. So if you're going into, I have
that problem. I have a problem with that.
Well, you can make a great first impression. He makes a great first impression because he gave me a cigar at E3.
Yeah,
that wasn't really a first impression, but like, but yeah, it's. I think just getting started. Don't worry if the work doesn't come immediately. The one final thing is, you've got to write a ton of music just to get noticed, and there's no shame in like. Writing a lot of music and not being happy with it, because you've got to learn from it. I think when you're getting started, you're trying to create your masterpiece. And I'm sorry, just like when you're like 24, you're not going to write a masterpiece. Most of it's going to be pretty bad. Take it from someone who's done like, just taking Ori as an example, Ori's about 2 hours of music. There's a lot of stuff that people like will never hear. There's a lot of crap that has to be written just to get to the good stuff. And that's especially true if you're starting out. So you've just got to write a lot of music. A lot is just really hard work. And the more music you write, the easier it gets.
Do you think life experiences has anything to do with it?
Absolutely. And that comes back to the very first thing I said about taste. You've got to develop your taste. You've got to travel, you've got to meet new people, you've got to put yourself in unfamiliar situations, because all of that will inform how you write music as well. So yeah, that is a very, very important point. If you're like studying the whole time, you go to music school and do a bachelor degree, and then you go and do a master's degree, and then you do a doctorate, you're not going to get any real life experience because you're stuck all the whole time. Like, go and live a little. Like, do something crazy. Just don't do anything illegal. Well, if you do something illegal, just don't tell anyone about it. Don't endorse anything like bad. But like, just do something that isn't normal for you, and you'll get so much out of it. Even like if it makes you like a little bit uncomfortable, you'll get so much out of it than just staying in your comfort zone. Sorry to get psychological again, but
no,
like,
this is
I love
excellent.
it. I love
This
it.
is great knowledge, man.
Yeah, we're taking
You
this.
tell.
All right. Well, humans are programmed. Like, what's the number one thing we're programmed to do? We're programmed to survive. Like,
Yep.
so we're gonna, and being programmed to survive means taking the easiest route. And taking the easiest route is not going to be the way to success in the entertainment industry, because the entertainment industry is friggin' hard. So you got to do the things that make you uncomfortable, because that's ultimately what's going to make you grow as a human being, or at least one of the things that will make you grow.
Absolutely. Now, we had another question in the chat. It's a really good question from Delilah HD. Question, life after Ori. Are you official member of Moon Studios? And what's next for you, Gareth?
Yeah, I mean, I'm technically, I'm technically an independent contractor for Moon Studios, but until Thomas and the gang don't like what I'm doing, I'm on board for whatever they decide to do next. I have a couple of things in the pipeline which I definitely can't talk about, but one of them in particular will be very, very, very surprising when it's announced. It's not the kind of thing you would associate me with, and I can't wait to screw people's heads. And
so just name the studio, and then we'll let you go.
Nope.
Here we go.
Nice
again.
try.
I like the answer. I like the answer.
Jeremy's
All
gonna
right.
get blocked after this.
You have the curiosity going right now.
I don't know, Gareth. Any chance we can get you to create a TXR soundtrack or intro? And if so, what do you charge?
Talk
Something we
to my
can't
agent.
afford.
No. I could do something for you guys.
Oh, that would be
Yeah,
nice.
you guys don't need
That would be
to
nice.
charge me. I don't need to charge me anything. It just depends.
I'll
Depends on what you want.
I'll just bring you cigars at E3. How about that?
That works.
And what's for lunch? We gotta do lunch.
And
We gotta do
drinks.
lunch. We owe you one.
And a beverage.
It's all good, man.
You know, one thing I have to say about you, and I have to tell the fans, last C3 you were on the floor for the whole night with Ori, and you interacted with all the fans, and you talked about the game. I just felt like that was really cool of you to be there the whole night. I think you were there 2 nights, and you talked about the game, and you really were behind the game, and you were there for the fans, accessible, and you went about it very professionally. I felt like you were like totally there the whole time until the end. So I just wanted to say that was a great thing, and thank you for the fans for doing that stuff. I mean,
honestly, Tim, that is honestly the best part of the job. Like, it's being with the fans in person, being able to talk about the game. The only thing that comes close to it is like seeing fans react on Twitch. I mean, this is why we do what we do, like watching people react, and getting to talk to them about it. So honestly, like, I think I was on the floor for like 3 to 4 hours, but it felt like 3 to 4 minutes. It just went by so quickly. It's like, it is my pleasure. I love doing all of that stuff. And if we're doing it again this year, then I will be back.
Yeah,
Cool.
I was kind of bummed I didn't get a chance to really talk to you that much, but hopefully this year.
Well, Gareth, we love you, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Gareth.
Amazing.
3 a.m. for you.
And-
Thank you so much.
No, it's now 14 a.m. So
Wow. I owe you.
No, it's all good. It's all good, guys. Thank you so much, and thanks for being great hosts. And I hope you'll have me back at some point in the future. And I can't wait to deliver Ori 2 to you guys along with the rest of the team.
Well, maybe
Studios.
in September when Ori 2 launches.
Oh, here we go again.
You know, Jeremy's a fisherman.
Yeah, he always asks that question.
All right, I'll give you a really great. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get in so much trouble for this.
Nice.
It's gonna come out sometime between January and December of this year. How about
that? Very good.
Oh.
The mind of a genius.
I'm such an ass.
You're a smart ass.
We'll be happy when it hits.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you in June, my friend.
All right, have a good one, guys. All right, cheers.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye, Gareth. And with that comes an end to the show, guys. And hey, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone to come out and listen and participate in the chat. Great group here as always, and keeping us company this evening. And I don't know, does anybody want to talk about what they've been playing before we go?
Well, I'm going to be going soon because I have to go to sleep. But I have been playing I played Resident Evil 2 last night, and I have to say I recommend it. It is scary. Use a headset.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Oh, it's like it's one of those games that we talk about Hellblade that you have to listen to on your headset.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm comparing this to that, but this is a game you should listen to with your headphones because it is so well done and it's so scary.
I heard nothing but good things, man. And even with Resident Evil 7, I couldn't do it. Within 10 minutes, I couldn't handle it.
Tim, wait till the tyrant comes out and tries to attack you. You're gonna shit yourself.
Yeah, I know. I was scared. I got 25, 30 minutes in. I was just like, this is too much, and I turned it off. But hopefully, maybe I don't think I'm gonna play tonight, but I'm probably gonna play tomorrow during the day because I'm off. But I have to say, listeners, it's like it's all what it's propped up to be. I think it's a 91 on Metacritic, so they did a good job there.
I've been playing that Anthem demo, man. I've been enjoying that.
I enjoy Anthem a lot. It's great.
I've only gotten an hour into it, because of other things I had to do last night. But from what I played, it was hella good, man. Hella fun, and I'm hearing hopefully
huge Megatron.
Now it's going to end tonight, right? Like 9. Well, it's already over. The demo's over, but
it's already over.
Now, is it supposed to be open for next weekend? Does anyone know?
Right. Yeah. It's going to be the open. Now it's going to be the open beta demo or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Hopefully I can get into that one. I sat there at the choose mission screen for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's for everybody. So it's for everybody.
All right. Well,
I've been playing Ace Combat, which I love fight sim and fighter pilot sim, whatever the hell you call it. But I've been playing a lot. It's kind of funny. I was playing the other night, and my wife wakes up. She's like, "All right, Trigger," which is the character in the game. She's like, "All right, Trigger, let's go to bed already." And I'm like, "Man, don't be listening to my game. What's wrong with you, lady?"
Sounds like role playing night over there. That's what that's
Trigger. Hey, Trigger. Only you, Coop. Only you. Nah, but yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. Ace Combat, it's the original. It's the best. So I ain't hating. I'm playing at the hardest difficulty, so it's hard. I haven't gotten that far. I think I'm on like the sixth or seventh mission, and it's tough.
You guys are gonna laugh at this, but I've actually been playing a little bit of Sea of Thieves with some legendary players.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe you.
Tim, don't tell anybody, please. Don't tell anybody.
Tim already
What
fell asleep.
you played? No, I'm doing. You played Sea of Thieves. What'd you say?
Yeah,
Is
with
that
some.
what you
I played Sea of Thieves with some legendary players.
Some pirate legends or some like famous people?
No, like
Pirates.
pirate legends.
Oh, okay. So are you enjoying it more? Or are you still shitting on it?
No, I didn't enjoy it more. It's the same game.
Shut up.
Make him
You
walk
don't know
the
what you're
plank.
doing. You gotta keep going back.
Drown
But
him.
I have to say, I'm gonna have to leave. But I have to say, great job today, guys.
You
Great
too, buddy.
job, Invader. Great questions and great hosting.
Yeah.
It was a good show, and
Very
I'll
fun
be
show.
back. I'll be back next week.
All right.
All right,
All right,
for
Tim.
sure.
All right, fellas. Good job, man. Everything was beautiful. Gareth was awesome.
For sure.
And the chat was popping too.
Oh yeah, the chat's been lively. It's been great. You know, we had Jago, Siberia, Indie Gamer, Post
Mike
Up,
Ybarra.
Kid Smooth, yeah, Mike Ybarra,
We got
lots
Basement,
Delilah,
Delilah
Radio,
HD.
Delilah, El Boogie.
Diego. Oh, Boogie was in? I didn't see her.
Yeah, she's there.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, lots of fantastic people in the chat, keeping it lively. Thank you all very much for coming out. You know what? I've actually started playing Red Dead Redemption 2, guys, and I'm still really early on. And you know what? I gotta tell you, I'm just taking it all in because Rockstar's done such a good job. I'm just like, it's like a movie to me. It's so good.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take in, man. That game.
Yeah, like just the amount of detail that they put into it. You know, I pass by like a mountain of rocks, and the amount of detail in there is I'm just like my jaw's dropping. Even like the draw distance and the voice acting is phenomenal. Like like they make a really believable world, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm still early on, so we'll see how it goes. But so far, I am really liking it. Doc, have you been playing anything recently?
Doc
I
dropped.
think Doc had already left. I think he lost his connection.
Yeah. He dropped about 20 minutes ago or so.
I had not even noticed. All right, but with that, we'll get to the outros, fellas. Mr. Downer, where can people find you at?
At home.
Sounds good.
On
Sounds
mute,
good.
yelling at the kids.
Get a job.
Awkward silence.
At home. All right, and
Muted.
Megatron, where can everyone find you at?
I'm always on Twitter, man. Megatron_1975. That's it.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Short, plain, simple. Good stuff. All right, Southbound, where can everybody find you?
You can find your boy Southie on Twitter at Southbound110, all one word. Or hit me up on Xbox, which you know what's funny because I get random messages like, yo, hey, hi. And then when I respond, I get nothing. It's like, what was the point of messaging me then? It's like, if you want to talk. I'm cool with everybody. But don't just give me something stupid like, hey, yo, what's up? Say something, damn it.
Anyways, South, send me $50.
Holler at your boy.
All right. And of course, guys, you know me, Invader. You can find me on Invader Gaming, my YouTube channel. And hey, I'm very active on Twitter at Invader_1986. Also, again, I would like to extend a big thank you to Gareth Coker for coming on the show. It was great to chat with him, talk with him about Ori and other things in the gaming industry with music composition and such. He was very insightful, and we'd love to have him back on at some point. And you know where to find his content, Gareth Coker. If you look on YouTube and his own website, the guy has awesome content. Definitely check out his music composition. It is first class. Now, guys, don't forget to hit that like button, share this out, and hey, don't forget to check out our website, txrpodcast.com, for all kinds of good stuff on there. Anyways, guys, this is the TXR podcast, and we are heading off. See you guys.
Later.